Well, it's story time again, Louie.
Good.
You ready to tell a story?
Oh, sure.
Well, let's make this story a well-known story from the book of Genesis out of the Word of God. This will be the story of Abraham and Isaac. Do you know that story?
Oh, sure.
Well, let's act this story out.
Like a play.
Yes, like a real play. You play the part of Isaac, the boy.
Yeah.
And I'll play the part of old Abraham.
Lincoln.
I beg your pardon?
Abraham Lincoln.
No, you have the wrong Abraham there. This was not Abraham Lincoln. This Abraham lived, thousands and thousands of years before Abraham Lincoln.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And his name was just plain Abraham.
No last name.
No, I'm sorry, Louie, he didn't have a last name. It was just plain Abraham. But he had a nice boy named Isaac, and that's the part you're going to play. So are you ready?
I think so.
Well, I'm ready, too. So let's tell the story of Abraham and Isaac. Once upon a time, a long time ago.
How long ago?
Well, as I told you, Louie, it was thousands and thousands of years ago.
Oh, this is an old story.
Yes, it is. A very old story. Once upon a time, a long time ago, there lived a man whose name was Abraham. And Abraham was a sheep herder. He lived way out in the desert with other farmers, and he lived in a tent. Did you know that?
A tent?
Mm-hmm, a real tent.
A Sears Roebuck tent.
No, I don't think it was a Sears Roebuck tent, but it was a tent, just an old camping tent, and that's where he lived with Isaac and his wife and all their servants, and then the animals had other tents. One day he left that little village of tents, and he walked way out in the desert to pray to God. Prayer is such an important thing, and Abraham prayed even thousands of years ago.
He did?
Yes, he did. And he walked way out in the desert to pray. And as he was praying that day, God spoke to him right out of the heavens. Abraham, Abraham.
Oh, my.
Yes, he did. He said, Abraham, I want to ask you a question. Do you love me?
What'd he say?
Well, he said, of course I love you. Everybody should love God, don't you think, Louie?
Sure I do.
Do you love God?
Yeah. Do you?
Why, I surely do. And Abraham loved God, so he said, yes, God, I do love you. God said, Abraham, I want you to prove it.
How?
He said, I want you to prove it by going on a long 3-day journey. And back in those days, Louie, a 3-day journey was a long, long trip because you either had to walk or ride on an old bumpy camel or a horse. So a 3-day journey was really something. And God said, Abraham, I want you to take a 3-day journey across the desert, across those burning sands, to the mountain of Moriah, the mountain of death. And when you're there, I want you to build an altar. And I want you to light a fire on that altar. And I want you to make a sacrifice to me. Well, Abraham was very happy to do that.
Why?
Well, because he loved God. And as a matter of fact, little Louie, Abraham had made a number of sacrifices to God before.
He had?
Why, sure, that was a rather common thing to do back in those days. And so Abraham didn't think too much about that, and he said, why, surely I will do that, God. I'll leave first thing in the morning. What do you want me to sacrifice? You see, back in those days, they would sacrifice a lamb or the first fruits of their crops. And God said, Abraham, are you sure you love me? And Abraham said, yes, you know that I love you. God said, Abraham, I want you to sacrifice Isaac, your only son, Isaac.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes, Louie. God asked Abraham to sacrifice Isaac.
Can I change parts in this play?
No, you have to keep the part. Well, Abraham was shaken up. He was frightened, and he said, oh, God, I'll sacrifice anything. I'll give you my crops. I'll give you my animals. I'll give you my tents, but not my son, not my only son, Isaac. Do you know, Louie, that when Isaac was born, Abraham was an old man?
How old was he?
Well, he was very old. He was up in his 90s.
On Medicare.
Well, I don't think they had that then, but he was an old man. And Isaac meant so very much to him because he'd waited so long to have him. And God said, I want that son, Isaac, from you, Abraham. And Abraham didn't want to give up Isaac. And he said, oh, God, I'll sacrifice anything. I'll give you anything else, but don't take away my only son, Isaac. But God said, that's what I want. And that's what you must do if you love me and if you're going to obey me. Well, Abraham went home that night with a heavy heart. When he got back to those tents, he began to look for little Isaac. Isaac,
Yes, here I am, Dad. Here I am.
where have you been?
Oh, out on the paper route.
Oh, you don't have a paper route. Have you been out in the desert?
Yeah, just playing around.
Say, Isaac,
Huh.
how would you like to make a trip with me in the morning?
Oh, good. Where are we going?
Well, we're going to make a long trip. We're going clear across the hot, burning sands of the desert, and we're going to a mountain, the Mountain of Moriah.
Oh, no. The Mountain of Death.
Yes, the Mountain of Death, and there we're going to build an altar on top of that mountain, and we're going to light a fire on some wood, and we're going to make a sacrifice. And I want you to go with me. We have to leave very early in the morning. Would you like to go?
Oh, I sure would. I've always wanted to go.
Well, we're going to go tomorrow. So you go to your tent now and you get a good night's sleep and get some rest. And when the sun rises in the morning, we'll come out here and saddle up some horses and put our packs on some camels and we'll take off, all right?
Oh, good. I'm so excited. I probably can't sleep.
Well, you better sleep tonight. Okay?
Okay.
Good night.
Good night, Dad. See you in the morning.
And so little Isaac went to his tent. He was so excited to think that in the morning he'd make his first trip with his father, clear across the desert. But you see, little Isaac had no idea of what was waiting for him there.